I don't think they're going to be going through it pretty quickly, I'd say. I now call the Norton City Council meeting to order for April 3rd, 2017. The time is 7 p.m. Will you please rise for Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Mrs. Richards, will you please call the roll?
Mr. McGlone?
Here.
Mr. Kernan?
Here.
Mr. Pearson?
Here.
Mr. Townsley?
Here.
Mr. Pelot?
Here.
And Ms. Whipke?
Here. First thing up, committee work session. Are there any reports from the committee chairs? With no reports, we'll get started right on the agenda items. First thing up is medical marijuana moratorium. Mr. Kernan.
Thank you, Madam President. We have attached to our packet tonight a proposed ordinance for the City of Norton which would prohibit cultivation, processing, and dispensaries in the City of Norton for medical marijuana. I think maybe a draft of it came out earlier also, but this would basically take the place of the moratorium and would prohibit those businesses in the City of Norton from here forward. Mr. Markey?
Yeah, just want to make a comment. I know we discussed previously before the moratorium was put into place a chance to study. One of the things that the revised code does is give the City Council the ability to do this, to actually prohibit. It's one of the powers that the General Assembly gave to the City Council. So that is just an exercise of your statutory powers, not nothing controversial. It's just what's allowed by the revised code.
I know that for the last couple weeks we've been, well, more than that actually, we've been receiving information. I see we have something else in our boxes tonight about what is going on with that and the rulemaking in Columbus and all the things that are going on. So hopefully that's been helpful. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, you moved this on to the planning and zoning. Did they ever get back to you with recommendations?
They did get back to me. They kind of were at a loss of what to recommend. So we didn't get a lot back from them. I think that was partially my fault because I'm not sure I gave them a lot of direction of what we were looking for. So they pretty much turned it back to me and the committee without any recommendation.
So they had no opinion on it?
Correct.
I have one quick question
Sure.
for Mr. Markey. When we originally talked about this, I don't recall if it was said by you or the other attorney who was here, but the comment was made that we can't really stop it. But this does stop it, correct?
It does stop it. And if I said that, I was incorrect at the
Okay.
time. And now I've had a chance to reflect and look at the revised code a little more closely. That option is available to the city.
Okay, so it's
very
more-
clearly stated.
Great, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Yeah, I took a look also, Paul, at the statute that sets this up in the Ohio Revised Code, and it's pretty clear. It says that the local municipalities have the authority to prohibit.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll move to put this on to the next council agenda for its first reading, and I think it includes emergency language. Is there a second?
I'll second. Well, can I?
Yes. Thank you.
Call the roll,
Mr.
please.
Kernan?
Yes.
Mr. Pelot?
Yes.
And Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Next item, appropriating property Cleveland-Maslin Road widening. Mr. Pearson.
Yes, we had previously talked about this. This is the 6 properties we need to acquire for the right-of-way going forward in eminent domain.
Yeah, and this will actually be a 7th one that we will add to it. And the backstory here is that we're in constant negotiations. It was a 2-year process, and we thought we were pretty close to finalizing an agreement. So this is not included in the first batch of 6. It turns out that we weren't as close as we thought. We're still going to continue that process as we go to pursue the eminent domain, the appropriation, but just like the other parcels, we have some utility moving that has to get done, so we need to file for this property, which is in addition to the original 6 properties. So.
As of the day, have there been any closure of the 6 properties? Has anybody reached or nearing settlement, or at least talking?
There's not of the 6 that were filed. So there was one that was in limbo that we think is pretty close, and this other one, which is in limbo, we don't think is as close. So.
Okay. Well, I'd like to move this to next week's agenda. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Very good. Carla, please call the roll.
Before we do, just to clarify, this is not taking, more for the public, this is not taking people's entire property by eminent domain. This is taking a piece of it for the utilities and things like that for the widening of the road, and that's it.
And I had a question. I was going to ask it afterwards, but now's just as good a time as any. I couldn't help but notice this says Greenwich Road and Cleveland Maslin, so it's going to be coming down a leg right up here at the corner. And then coming
Is that
down.
the legal description?
Yeah, Greenwich Road is mentioned several times.
Yeah, well, it's at the intersection of Greenwich and Cleveland Maslin, so that property intersects there. So
And then it's going to be coming down to, what, the cemetery?
I don't know if it goes that far or not.
I'd have to look at the map again.
I mean, it's not nothing you have to tell me tonight.
Maybe the
but-
utility relocation does, but we'd have to look at the site plan to figure out how
Yeah,
it's laid
just-
out. I don't have that with me.
Right.
Curiosity.
Yeah,
This
could be
would
part utilities.
no more than 15 feet in the right-of-way anyhow, right? At least the original discussion was.
Again, I'd have to. We can get for next week. We could bring the site plan that lays out
You wanna
what
see
the
the
new
site
interest
plan.
in lands, but
Most of,
I don't
I mean,
believe
most
it.
of the takings are very minimal.
right.
I don't believe it to be necessary to do that. We just
Okay.
need to move this forward. Obviously, we have an agreement with the state going back 2 years to go forward, so.
Yep.
Any other questions? No. Okay. Can I have, Mrs. Whipke had seconded that, I believe. Could you call the roll, Carl?
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Ms. Whipke?
Yes.
And Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
No.
I was going to say,
Mr. Rogers is on it.
Mr. Rogers was, that's
Okay,
correct.
after I vote.
Well, was on it. Okay. Moving on, appointment to the Civil Service Commission, Mr. Towesley.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an opening on the Civil Service Commission that was, someone resigned a little early, so this is to fill the unexpired term that ends February 29th, 2020. And Mayor, I guess I'll turn it over to you at this point.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Conti is here this evening, and he is our pick to fill the unexpired seat that was vacated just a couple of weeks back. Like I said, there is 3 members. He will make up the 3rd member on the Civil Service Commission. We've asked that he come this evening and I'd like to introduce him now at the podium if you guys have any questions. And then hopefully at this point, then we'll turn it over to you, and as soon as we could get him on board, it would be a good thing. So, Mr. Conti, would you come up?
Before we go on with this, I got to back up here for a minute. Sorry. On the eminent domain procedure here, they have that under utilities, and I was thinking it was property. We have property on our agenda, so who does it really belong to?
It's kind of both, technically.
I just want to make sure our vote's good. I'm sorry.
I would say it's property because.
So whatever you assign it to.
Okay.
I mean,
well,
that's the ultimate answer, but if you want to, in the future, delineate between the two. I can't remember how we did the other ones,
The other ones were under property.
but the president assigns
Okay,
the
we just
committees,
need to change
so.
the ordinance then over to saying property chair. Okay, thank you, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And then if I can continue as he's coming up, when that spot was vacated, I reached out to the current commission members, and I extended a opportunity to engage into helping find a replacement to fill the vacated seat. This happens to be one of the recommendations by this current Civil Service Commission. Mr. Conti has been a resident in Norton since 1973, graduated from the University of Akron with a degree in education, finished a dedicated career with the Akron Public Schools as a science teacher, and now he currently serves as a tutor at the Barberton City Schools, assisting troubled youth to keep them in school and on track to graduate. Like I said, if he's available if you have any questions, and like I said, we certainly would like to welcome him to the commission if you so such desire.
I don't have any questions, but I will say that I've known Mr. Conti for years, and he would be a very good choice for this commission. So, thank you for stepping up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you for your willingness to serve and give you an opportunity, if you wish, to say something on your own behalf.
I'm just excited about a chance to find out a little more about city government and maybe serve a little bit in the city.
Great.
I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any further questions?
No, just I would
More
say
for
thank
the mayor, or what type of timeline are you looking here for this?
Well, like I said, right now that you've got 3 of them, so 2 of them actually makes a quorum. So by, at this point, I would say as soon as we could get him in the spot, the better. I know that they're working on updating making some changes of some of their rules and so forth. That's one of their jobs that they're doing currently at this point in time. And I'd like to get him engaged in some of that process just as quickly as possible. But again, if it takes 6 weeks, it takes 6 weeks. But I would certainly hope it doesn't take that long. So.
Do you have any meetings scheduled currently?
The next meeting, I believe, is the 12th or the 19th. But there's nothing urgent. We don't have any tests pending or anything right now.
Right.
Okay.
But I know they're anxious to get a new member.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Conte.
Thank you.
And with that, I will make a motion to add this to our next council meeting with emergency language.
And
Are
I'll
we
second.
waiving?
Yeah, we can waive second and third readings.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'll second that, Carla.
Okay. Mr. Towesley?
Yes.
Mr. McGlone?
Yes.
Thank you. That said, we move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business come before council?
Madam President, I do have one item. Last week, we had some discussion about a content of a email, and it was deemed not worthy of being spoken from the floor. So out of respect to that, I just have written an official letter of complaint based on the content of that email, and I just wanted to put it in the council record and distribute it to council and the administration. And that's it.
Do we have an update on the road closure for the bridge?
Yes, we do. We're hoping, at this point, there's not a lot of work being done up there, but at this point in time, we're waiting for guardrail. Guardrail was back ordered. Hopefully, the plan right now is for it to be in the city by Thursday. Providing it's here on Thursday, we're hoping that it won't take a whole lot of time to put it in, and hopefully maybe before the weekend or by the weekend.
Okay.
But that's what's kind of holding it up right now.
Thank you.
And
It is a county project,
I was gonna
just
say
want to
that,
remind
right.
everyone.
And we have it requested possibility of opening it without the guardrail, but that's not going to happen, so.
Yeah, I'd wait.
Basically, they won't allow us to do that. I guess until they turn it over to us, it's kind of still there, so. So we're hoping by the end of the week.
All right, thank you.
Anything else?
Yes, regarding the Nash Heights project, surveying by EDG to establish gas lines, I've noticed they've went beyond the original drawings. Has there been a change in the extension of sewer lines? by Barbara?
No, OOPS requires so many feet past all of the utilities, and I know the paper referenced the concern on Golf Course Drive, because there were flags on Golf Course Drive, and that was because of the pump station. So they generally go anywhere from 500 to 1,000 feet past their points, just to make sure there's nothing that is going to be a surprise. Sometimes we still get surprises. So,
Okay.
so
They
that's,
noticed on-
it has nothing to do with the boundaries of the project. Well, it does, I mean, they go outside of the boundaries of the project to make sure that they've caught everything.
Yeah, because I noticed in Clubside, the shell heart, that's probably more than 500 feet. They've extended it all the way down. And I know there was no original plans to
It
dig
is,
that's why I
it's up
wondered.
to OOPS, so it's what they require.
Okay, so there's no plans that go further than,
No, there's not.
Scope of the project maintains
Correct.
the same.
are we going to send out a letter? Because I'm getting lots of calls in regard to dig, how far into their properties, when do they actually start?
Well, we did send a letter, a 3-page letter, to all of the residents that
That's the one, the first one we sent about a month
Correct.
ago.
I also have an email list that anyone can sign up for to get updates. I generally do an update weekly. And then we will continue to, provide correspondence, especially in the areas that will be in at the time. So Croydon and Rangeley are the two first areas that will be actually having construction in. Those people have been, most of them, I don't want to say everyone because I would have to check with the contractor, but have been made contact with to go over all of the details. And we'll do that street by street.
Any of the people in that particular area that would like to opt in, have they said they are at this point, or would they have to contact Barberton?
Well, if
The
they want to be
land-
part of the assessment project, there were 11 people that already opted into the project. If they want to opt in now, they cannot be part of this assessment. And probably the actual cost will have to be assessed to them if that's what they want to do. We have not heard anybody wanting to do that at this point.
Could you send me a list of those who have, the finalization have opted into it?
They're actually on the they're on the main list, but if you want them delineated, I can certainly do that. Is that what you're asking?
No, I mean, basically.
If they're on the list of 283, do I have that number right? The 283 number includes the 11 opt-ins, but I can delineate that if you need me to.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else? New business? Is there any new business come before council? If nobody else has any, I do. In the Ohio Municipal League Bulletin this past week that we got, today we got it, right? No, it was last week. Friday we got it. Normally we don't get it till today. The Municipal League is hosting a webinar titled the 2017 OMA/OML webinar, Your Electronic Device in Ohio's Public Records and Open Meetings Acts. You have a handout in your that was over there with where your packets were that was available for you when you came in. This is to be held April 20th from 10 to 11 a.m. The cost is $100 for up to 50 registrants, and I believe it would be beneficial for all of council, administration, and/or employees required to utilize the city email account as well to participate if possible. We're already in the steps of sending in this registry. But I think now's the time that we need to make sure what we're doing is correct as far as with the emails that we're using or whatever our devices are. So there's more information there, and we are going to start that process to send in for the registration. But I'd like to see I'd like to see all of us make it. Can't make that mandatory, I don't guess, but I certainly would like to see everybody participate. Topics for the next work session, the Tax Credit Rollback Fund, 128. This will be for Monday, April 17th. Anybody else have anything?
Updates, is that what you're asking?
No, I'm asking for the topics.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm writing.
Public comment. We only have one. May I remind you before you come to the podium, please state your name, or when you get to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Mr. Jim Wright.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I have talked to Mrs. Carr and Mr. Zeta about this before the meeting. They are well aware of it. They're going to check into it in the morning, see what we can do about this problem or potential problem. I have some maps here. If you don't mind, I'd like to hand them out just so you understand what I'm talking about here. It's nothing major at this point, but it could be. I've already had some issues because of it. And I'll say a little bit about that, but I'm not going to stand here and beat a dead horse. So I live at corner of Cleveland, Massillon, and Shellhart, getting a lot of water.
Thank you.
Comes from up the road, and I've learned to deal with it. But during the construction time, it's caused me a couple times to go rent pumps to pump it out of a trapped area here. The map you're looking at is right across the front of Cleveland Massillon Road. There's 3 catch basins right there, or drainage. That's what was there before this project started. And they have chosen, ODOT, whether, I don't know if they've chosen, I want to say that word, but they're eliminating the one in the corner of the property, the picture you can see. That dotted line is where the water runs from up the street and floods that area right in there. That drain in that corner is important because it catches the water that I have to deal with coming from up the road. Without it, I literally spent 4 hours the other day. I went and rented a pump and pumped it over into the road ditch in order to get rid of the water that was up to my knees in that area. It affects my house. It affects the lady next door. This is a pretty simple fix. I talked to the construction people today, and they're very helpful, but they said, look, we only go by the plans. That's all we can do. There is a manhole right there and a catch basin for the water, but it's going to be sidewalk level. All they have to do is back off about 6 feet, run a drain line with a drain right there to take it right into that catch basin. Because there's no way the water can travel that high up to go into the manhole. It's not made to. But they can't do anything without the say-so. This is a pretty, I want to say, simple fix because they're there right now. I happened to catch it today when I come in. I'm in the construction business. I don't lay pipe, but I do know that this is a necessary evil for me to have to deal with. It's been there for 30 years since I filled in the ditch. It's not a lot of cost of money to put a plastic pipe in and put a drain right there. I think that everybody will be on board and see it. It's not a major issue, but I just want to bring it to everybody's attention. Good feedback from Mrs. Carr and Mr. Zeta about it. I feel like that we'll get this handled. I wasn't sure about that when I showed up. When I ran into it today, called Mr. Pearson and Mr. Townsley about it. They understood it. I'm sorry I didn't get to everybody, but this all came about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to address the issue because they're there. They're working there. It's all opened up. We can save money and save headaches, and at least helps me to continue to take care of the problem that I'm having until we can get the problem addressed. At least I have an issue instead of going out and renting pumps and being at home and, trying to take care of things. So I know I couldn't do it myself. I know that I needed city officials on board to help with this because ODOT just looks at somebody screaming and going, okay, they're just a resident. You guys are my voice. So, I appreciate your time and effort. They understand the situation. I think we'll get this resolved without a problem. I just want to make everybody aware of it. I was afraid I was going to have to get into a big, lengthy discussion and not be very nice. But, everything worked out so far well. And, I just hope that we can resolve this very easily. And everybody goes, oh, just an oversight. We should have done that. And we didn't, So that's all I have. I thank you for your time.
Okay.
I put my phone number on there if you have any questions.
Yeah, we have it. We'll get-
Feel free to, I can be there at any time if somebody really wants to see what's going on, because I don't work that far away, and I can be there to help out. I just would love to see it get addressed now before we have issues and thousands of dollars of damage, and it's just not necessary. This helps take care of the whole thing, what it does. And I'm willing to give up more property if I have to do it, because it's that important to me to have some place for the water to go. That it is. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Is there anything that you need from us in order to get this taken care
No,
of?
I told Mr. Wright that Mr. White is in tomorrow, so we'll get Mr. White and Mr. Wright together, and I'm going to call also GPD, who's a design engineer. We'll pull out the plans, and it could be an oversight, and even if it's not, we want to make sure that the water's being addressed properly, so we'll take a look and see what's going on with there.
Okay, while we're looking at his and we're looking at taking care of that, are there any other areas that we may be running into an issue like this?
Well, as these come up, we do review again. We had an issue over at Gardner that we did adjust a little bit. So, when you're out in the field, sometimes adjustments do have to be made. So I'll be happy to report back to you after I have the engineers take a look.
Okay, thank you very much.
Actually, this is twofold, I believe, in Mr. Wright's cases, because it's impacting half of Shellhart. One, it appears, are storm drains on Shellhart, because I was down there Friday and seen you pumping stopped. That needs to be looked at. I spoke with two members of the school board today. They will be in contact with you. I asked them for a date and an optional date. It's for an informal meeting with the residents on Shellhart, the members of the school board, and the administration, myself or any other member of council wants to be there to see to resolve some game plan going forward before it goes any further in the courts or approaches that. As soon as Mr. Sands gets back to me after he speaks with Mr. Ewell and Mr. Knight, convening, because they said they would discuss it next Monday night at their meeting, and I told them that's not a good enough answer, because that's a week away. You can do something sooner. I'm sure the neighbors will be happy to sit.
And if I may, Mr. Pearson, actually, Mr. Hess and a crew were out there again today after the rains this weekend, already looking at some other adjustments we might be able to make on Shellhart. So believe me, we're on top of it as what we can be. I am glad to hear that the schools hopefully will be cooperative.
This is more of a school board issue than
I
ours.
agree, and I'm glad to hear that they are willing to work with us.
And for anybody that's interested, and it's only interested, the amount of water that comes down through there, you'd be astonished at the pictures I have. It's just, I'm not complaining. I know we're trying to resolve the issue, all that, and that's fine, But if there's ever anything, everybody goes, well, how much water are we talking about? You would be amazed.
Did it since that school been built, it's gotten worse?
Pardon me?
Since the school got built, has it gotten worse?
I believe so, yes. I mean, there's no way to actually gauge how many gallons we're talking about, but yeah, I mean, when you literally see the ground in my area get so saturated that it comes up and it's like a carpet floating, the grass is, and you can walk on it and it's like a sponge. That's, we're talking about that much water.
Mr. McGlone, the third house from Mr. Wright's at 7 o'clock on Friday had every bit of 1.5 to 2 foot of water in it before it
Is that
started.
the gentleman that had the pool?
Now, that's next to him.
Because I told him to contact you.
His fence is totally washed out. It collapsed his pool. Then the two neighbors adjacent to them are getting a tremendous amount of flooding, and they even have earthwork that retains it. And further up, I believe the issue is the way the overall topography, the way it's been pushed in the dirt by the school temporarily till they finish their program. I've suggested that they go in with a track hoe and dig a ditch and get it off, at least somewhere to run into, to get it to the ditches on Cleveland Maslin. I think that would be the cheapest and most effective way. And perhaps the neighbors, obviously Mr. Wright is another issue coming down because the water drains that direction off of Cleveland Maslin. But for the others, I think if they did that and perhaps put French drains in, it might correct it. But up to this point, there's been a lot of talk and no action, and that's not our administration or this council. I think most of that blame lies with the school.
Right.
And I think they need to step up to the plate, which I explained to them the day before this ends up going further, and I don't like, no one wins in litigation.
Right.
So hopefully we'll get something this week, and all parties necessary could be at a meeting.
And one other thing about that drain in the corner, the construction company, I had to call them twice to come out during the middle of a rainstorm to try to help control it. So they know there's an issue. I mean, obviously they can't do anything, but they know it's a problem.
Well,
So,
thank you for bringing it to our attention. We'll take a look at it tomorrow.
Yeah, and, I'll be glad to help out any way I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
As far as the drain goes, could you please just keep council
Yeah,
up
I'll
to
send
date
you
how
guys an
quickly it can be
update
done and
after
such?
the engineers look at it. Yep.
Thank you.
And that's the end of the public comments. Now we're on to public updates. Are there any public updates?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple. First of all, I just want you to know that last Thursday, I attended the DARE graduation at the Norton Middle School. Officer Starling, with a couple of, about 200 kids, graduated through the program, which I feel is very important due to the amount of drugs and so forth that's out in society today. It's good to get some of the instructional information in the kids' hands early, and it's never too early to get started, and I think he did a great job with it this year. And like I said, they graduated last Thursday. I was part of that program. Moving on, we do have a couple of announcements that I would like to make. The Central Collection Agency for Taxpayers Assistance for City Income Tax Filing. We have still 2 more times, this coming Wednesday, April 5th, and next Thursday, April 13th, both from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Columbia Woods. And again, those are on our website. We have, as I mentioned last week, the Norton Parks Board presents an introduction to yoga and meditation, it starts on Wednesday, April 12th through May 17th. It's on Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 p.m. The information for that is also on our website, and it's being done by a certified yoga instructor, Miriam Daniel. We have Green Up Norton Day. It's Community Work Day, Saturday, April 22nd from 8:30 to 1. We're still asking that anybody interested in volunteering, please do so. Pre-registration is available on our website, and you can get the forms there and register, pre-register for the event. If you pre-register for the first 100 people will get a free water bottle with the pre-registration. And last but not least, the Norton Kiwanis. We have Thursday, May 4th at 7 a.m. We have a prayer breakfast. It will be at Grace Church. Featured speaker is Captain James Jones from the Barberton Salvation Army. Cost is $10. And Maggie Abbott, I think, will be here as we move forward on some of the meetings to sell tickets for anybody who's interested. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Next regular council meeting is April 10th at 7 p.m. There being no further business come before council, this meeting is adjourned at 7:32.
All right, big guy, have a good one.
You do the same.
I need Gonzaga tonight.